When you talked about, right at the very beginning, about a vision, is that maybe something you see as a vision? Like giving 2.5 billion people potentially a bank history and access to money that they don't have right now?
The vision is very simple. Giving everybody the access to money, everybody. If we elaborate on that, what can that mean? Having access to digital money gives you the banking history. What can it enable? It can give you a possibility to apply for a loan. Like if you can't prove that you have steady income, if you get paid in cash, for example, but you need a loan, you want a loan to maybe start a business, or you are a small, you have a small business, you're selling fruits on the street, or you have a small, let's say, kiosk on the street. You don't use bank, everything is in cash. But if you want to grow bigger and you want a loan for that, what can you do? You have to go to not a loan office, but you have to go a loan shark who will give you the loan, but you will have to pay a lot more back. And if you don't, then you will lose an arm or a leg. That doesn't seem reasonable. You want to expand your business. Now, but if all of your business is in crypto, then you have all of that transaction history. You can prove to a loan office that, listen, I have a steady income, I have a steady business, I have a lucrative business. I just need a little bit more to scale it.
But that brings up another question, because there aren't right now, for example, you can have your little business selling fruit or something else, but there isn't right now a credit institution which will, for example, give you a loan in Dagcoin directly. How do you see, obviously you can prove what your income is, what you're receiving, but you're going to have to receive that loan in the fiat currency of the country, or potentially maybe even another cryptocurrency that they do allow.
I don't see that as a challenge, even if I have a business abroad in some other currency, but if I can prove that I have income, then there are loan offices, that credit institutions that are accepting that. And if right now there is no credit institution that will give a loan in DAGs, they will give the loan in some other currency.
Okay, but would you see there potentially being any obstacles in getting to the point where they accept that credit history and they accept that as being proof of steady income to enable a loan in another currency?
As long as the currency grows, as long as the community grows and it becomes more usable, there is more liquidity in the market, which will come over time. Absolutely no obstacle. Throughout this year, there will be several very interesting services coming out that will grow the whole ecosystem of Dagcoin very wide. And I think this is the year where we can prove a lot of things, and we can show how a cryptocurrency actually should be growing.
Are you able to tell us any of those things?
Yeah, on the last conference, actually, we revealed a lot of the ecosystem that we're planning for this and next year. So there is something with loans, and there's actually a lot of things that come out. The easiest way is to go on the website and see how much there is and what we're working on.
So you touched on the developing world, and you touched on small business owners, but kind of what market sectors and companies do you see taking on board Dagcoin the soonest?
Here I guess I would generalize a little bit Dagcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole, as I believe that right now it's not the right moment to really much talk about using a cryptocurrency in a sense that when we want to use a currency, the infrastructure has to be there. It doesn't make much sense that if I accept the currency, but my vendor, my suppliers don't accept it, then I have to go through an exchange house to convert this currency to another one. So what I would see is that the wisest approach for cryptocurrencies to actually expand is to expand through merchants who have a very high margin on their products or services, because the amount of people using a cryptocurrency as of today is very small. So if you have 100 customers in your cafe shop and 2 of them pay in cryptocurrency, then you don't even have actually a need to exchange that cryptocurrency back to fiat, because it's such a small part of your daily revenue. These kind of merchants are the best ones to actually start for crypto adoption and crypto expansion. If we go for a merchant who has a very small margin, then for them it's crucial. But every exchange, there's a cost. So it doesn't really make sense to actually accept crypto when you need to exchange it. So when the crypto community expands and it becomes more adopted, then more and more merchants will come on board, and it will give them the possibility that, if I come on board a little bit later, I already might have my vendors who already accept it. As of today, whoever is coming on board is one of the first ones. So as a token of appreciation to the nature of cryptocurrency, or as a faith in the future, a lot of merchants are accepting, and they swallow the bitter fact that I do need to exchange, and the cost becomes a little bit higher. But they just want to support the cause, they want to support the community. It would be, also for the community, it would be the wisest to approach those merchants who have very high margin, because then it's much easier. It's easier for the community, and it is easier for the merchants as well.
But you say that obviously that it works when there's this high margin. So you've got 100, say, customers in the coffee shop and 2 paying cryptocurrency. But, as a business owner, if only 2 customers out of 100 would like to pay in that, is it worth the time and the effort to make it possible to make that payment, that payment option possible for the customers, when they can also probably pay in cash or debit card or maybe even some other way?
The solution for the merchants that we have created, DagPay, it is so easy to set up. It's just a few minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And I don't think that's a long time. It's actually very easy to set up. It's very easy to use. So I'm sure that the benefit that the merchant gets is much, much bigger, because we also have this platform, Merchant Finder, where if you as a merchant accept the currency, if you accept the coins, then you can list yourself there, and the whole community sees that, okay, there is a merchant who accepts the coins. So for 4 or 5 minutes of setting up, you will get a lot of marketing and potentially a lot more attention and a lot more customers.
Obviously, you've got to convince them that this 4 or 5 minutes is worth the time. Because obviously anyone who owns a business, they're doing lots of things. They've got employees, they've got different locations, different products, different things to attend. Is convincing them that 5 minutes is worth it. And also being in this early stage now, what you're in, that they might go a number of days or weeks, perhaps even, without customers using that. And when they do receive money in Dagcoins, maybe it's not so regular. But maybe it's not regular, it's not very big, so it's not worth them converting the money back. So they might sometimes maybe have a few, what will be tens of euros or hundreds of euros, that would be potentially maybe much more useful to them in a regular account, rather than perhaps now having to convert it back.
If it is something that they would really need to use, then for sure. But if you talk about high margin merchants, then they will anyways have good profits. Therefore, I would say it's a very good investment in a growing cryptocurrency. And in the future, these tens of hundreds of euros They can be hundreds or thousands of euros. They could be.
Would you say in some respects then that it's, like if you take the cafe example, it's much more of a customer service, a good customer service tactic for a business to take? Because if they say that they accept Dagcoin, they accept this coin, they accept this coin, they take their 4 or 5 minutes for all of these various different coins, set up their ecosystems to accept them. Would you say then it's much more you can pay with whichever currency you use, and it's much more of a way to get crypto users to come to their cafe or to use their shop or chain?
Yes, I would say so. Because if I go to a cafe and I see that they accept some cryptocurrency, I'm like, very nice, they're innovative. It shows the same restaurant or cafe from a totally different angle perspective. I think it would be an addition for sure for a merchant.
So we touched on earlier a few examples in the developing world. When do you think the developing world will be ready to start to adopt cryptocurrencies, and perhaps especially Dagcoin?
There are so many different countries where there are, even in the developing world, their development level is very different. Some have actually already started to think about it. Some are taking their time. I think the next few years will already show how it evolves, and that it will show the support from the first developing countries on adopting cryptocurrency. The first step, of course, is to support and accept some, let's say, global currency, and then definitely to see if they see that it works and people really like it, then they will definitely come out with their own as well. And eventually, I believe every country will have their own.